All right, Kevin, you, Side Chef, welcome to the show. How are you doing, man?
Doing good. Always good to catch up, Mike.
You look a little tired, but that's a good reason. You just had a kid, right? Your first kid. So,
Exactly. Yeah, no, it's been great. She's almost 3 months old right now, so yeah, very excited. Whole new life changes and yeah, it's been great. Lots of diaper duty.
lots of diaper duty. Well, we will talk about diaper duty another time. Now we're going to talk about kitchen tech and the future of kitchen. And you're there, kind of really the Smart Kitchen Summit origin story. We were down at South by Southwest in Austin. I think it was 2015 or maybe 2014, one of those. I'm starting to lose the year. And I ran this idea of like the Smart Kitchen Summit by you, and you were excited. You were, pretty early in the side chef journey. I think you were maybe started a couple years before that.
Yeah, no, I think that was maybe just 1.5 years, not too much before that, so it's pretty close. Yeah, pretty close. We're coming up on 11 years here, so yep, that's about right.
You're a seasoned CEO, and those early days, I remember, it was very much focused on recipes, and then ultimately evolved into I think a guided cooking application in those early days. What was the original business plan or idea for SideChef?
Yeah, no, totally. If you remember, I actually came in from the video game industry, so worked at
Yep.
Blizzard
Yep.
Entertainment, World of Warcraft, did that for roughly around 10 years. And then, how do we take some of those ideas in game design and bring it into cooking, make cooking easier, the whole like guidance of it. And particularly at the time, I wasn't such a great cook, and working with more people who knew how to cook, I'm like, hey, there should be a GPS meets cooking concept, right? A step-by-step cooking concept. So yeah, when we first launched it, I think it was about 2013. We built out the first ever call it step-by-step guidance, for cooking as an app. We were named Best App of the Year by Google Play that year, and it kind of just took off from there. But we also quickly, had the realization where it's like, hey, we thought, hey, just build a great product and that was it. We did build a great product. Lots of people were using it. We made some, good strides there. But we also realized a big part of what kept people cooking things particularly new
Mm-hmm.
at that time, or new dishes, inspirations, was
Mm-hmm.
just everything outside, the planning, the getting the groceries. There were still a lot of time, even if you're able to save them time and give them confidence while the cooking guidance, everything else was also still a big factor. So then we really went down this journey of trying to connect the whole cooking journey, a food journey, if you will. And
Yeah.
that has been just such a adventure because we've been working with retailers and CPG
Yeah. Yeah.
brands
Yeah.
and smart kitchen companies, right? So you start working, how do we bring all that and make that easier? So that's kind of how that's evolved.
Yeah. We'll get into that, how you kind of evolved the app. I think in the 2013 to 2015 timeframe, around that time, appliance guys started to get really interested. So I remember at the time you were doing lots of flights to Europe, lots of flights to Asia, and talking to these big appliance brands around the world because they were very interested in recipes and how they can bring technology into the kitchen a little bit. That's kind of wavered a little bit, but talk about that time. What was the conversations? What were they saying to you when they wanted to talk to you?
Absolutely. I mean, that was the rise of IoT, right? You started seeing voice also become a lot bigger. Alexa, when it was just a
Mm-hmm.
voice,
Yep.
right, piece. And I think people were thinking, hey, what are the next, new tech innovations? And IoT was definitely probably one of the largest buzzwords in Silicon Valley. And figuring out how do we make all of these hardware devices smart with, internet connected, and what does that mean, right? That's the enabler, right? The internet connection. But what do you do with that? And so the first iterations of it was mostly like, hey, how do we have an app control an oven or control a
Yeah.
cooktop or a blender? And we did
Turn it on and
everything
off with
from
the turn it on and off with your app, right?
exactly, exactly. Well, we did have one really cool demo with a mixer blender company that can make a margarita all in one, like multiple different steps all at once, right? But
Yeah.
basically, yeah, working through those steps. So that was very exciting. And then again, I think it drove a lot of innovation in the kitchen space. It showed that, hey, these companies need to keep evolving. This was like outside of just food, right? It was all companies that had traditional businesses needed to start thinking, how does technology play and integrate, right? And IoT was the first part, but as we know later on, it leads into AI and everything else. But I think IoT was the first foundation that helps that transformation.
So we went through that wave of appliance integrations, and I feel like in 2019, 2020, particularly as the pandemic hit, a lot of the appliance guys stepped back a little bit, did some resets. I think there was some kind of pullbacks on innovation. You guys, meanwhile, kept chugging along and started to, like you said earlier, connect that rest of the shopping journey where you would tie in shopping and recipe. And now when I go to SideChef now, so much of it is around building your shopping basket through various grocers. So you built out the shopping experience and helped people shop to the recipes.
Yeah, so as you mentioned, in the 2015 and 2020, it's working with a lot of kitchen manufacturers, building the foundation, the connection, being able to control those ovens, setting, presets and timers and so forth. But all of this, we realized it was still bottom of the funnel in terms of people cooking, right? Or people being able to afford even a smart kitchen device, right?
Yeah.
All of this was still a little bit down the funnel, and creating those and doing those was great. And I think we created some great experiences. But if you look up the funnel, less people were cooking in a very traditional way. People were getting their inspirations very different. They're not always going to blogs anymore. They're going to social media. Social media is taking off, whether it's on TikTok or Instagram, etc. Right? All of that top was also being disrupted and innovated on. And how, our mission has always been to how to make it super easy to have a home cooked meal. And looking at that top transformation, just the funnel was very, very large, and if we can get them down through the journey and, planned from inspired to plan to then, get your groceries and then to the cook, right? We can just get more people down into that funnel. So that's what led us into working with, yeah, we worked with a lot of the Amazon, Google guys as those voice hubs became video hubs, right? Where you can actually see
Yep.
those step-by-step videos. So we were present
hmm
across all those on launch, and then also taking that in with the retailers, right? Retailers were looking also for transformation in terms of huge amounts of people wanting to buy groceries online post-COVID, right? That was a major shift. I
hmm
think previous to 2019, they expected the penetration of online grocery delivery to be up to like 5% by like almost 2030 or late 20 to like 28 or so. But then it took off. I mean, I think it's like 90% of everybody who's tried like online grocery now, today in the US. And so that was a very, very big change that people didn't expect. And then we wanted to then build off of that, right? How do we make any inspiration you see anywhere shoppable, plannable, and then also cookable, cookable being step by step, but then also connecting with IoT, smart kitchen, right? Bring all of that down the funnel.
Right.
And then, yeah, I mean, then it's into the future, right?
But you were also a startup, and I think wasn't it also easier to monetize when you were integrating into the shopping experience? Like there is people are doing shoppable recipes through your platform. You're getting I imagine something from that. Whereas when you're doing deals with like large appliance manufacturers, maybe people use the apps, maybe they don't, but over time that's just harder to monetize on a continuous basis, right?
Totally. One of the parts of, focusing on innovation as your North Star of a company for
Yeah.
anybody who's like, looking to start a company, is the business model, you know, is secondary to that, is a dependent variable, right? So
Yeah.
if you're creating a new user flow, a user experience or connecting businesses together in ways that have not been done before, they often require augmentations of traditional business models, right? So yes, we do have affiliate business models, right, for sending groceries, but it's also figuring out with these companies what are they already used to, how do we evolve that? Working with retailers, we started out with bounties, but then we're also realizing, okay, traditionally retailers work with CPG brands. CPG brands also contribute quite a bit of revenue to those companies by buying shelf space. And then we reimagine, okay, we built this user journey that connects the user from inspiration. They see a recipe, they can click on it, they can add it to a meal plan, they can change the serving sizes. It adds all those ingredients needed to cart, right? Then you're able to order that at over 5,000 different retailers across the US. And then you can connect those into Smart Kitchen as well as have the step-by-step guidance, right? But that whole piece, like the affiliate is just the grocery part. That's the traditional business model.
Yep. Yep.
But then what we learned with the CPGs, okay, you have shelf space, but wait, this whole entire thing is like a digital shelf space. You can
Right.
have a Nestle or Barilla or whoever be able to pop in a brand, let's say it's a pasta recipe, Barilla could have placement there, especially if the user likes Barilla pasta,
Right. Right.
right? And you can make those connections happen, and you have to reimagine what those business models look
So
like.
the placement
Yeah.
isn't like in the old world, it was end caps and newspaper circulars, etc.
Mhm.
Like that's how Nestle or Barilla would promote themselves. Now what you're saying is it's essentially a digital uh, shelf space. They can basically go into your inventory or go into your recipes and say, hey, there's a recipe here for pasta primavera. Barilla
Mhm.
wants to promote it into your recipe. So when people get the inspiration, they want pasta. Um, you can then promote, hey, why don't you use Barilla? Maybe there's a deal on it or whatever. And that's kind of a
Mhm.
partnership between you and Barilla, correct?
Exactly. And so the great thing of, creating this user journey and popping in Barilla there as a partnership or make a suggestion, like try out this new product or whatnot if you'd like, um, then how do we connect that value prop into the rest of the ecosystem? Meaning, traditionally, the word retail media is where retailers made money off those end caps. But retail media no longer has to stay in the retailer segment. It could
Mm-hmm.
actually be up the funnel in the inspiration side, right? As wherever they got the inspiration, word of mouth or online or whatnot, a cookbook, right? It could be placed up here,
TikTok,
but then
Instagram.
TikTok, exactly. But it can also be placed, towards the bottom of the funnel where people are actually cooking. So imagine a kitchen manufacturer, starting to monetize. They're using the data of how people are actually cooking. They know what's actually being made, and they know the success rate of that and that connectivity. What if that data isn't only used for improving the product, which is primarily right now, but it's also being used to monetize in
Mm-hmm.
terms of helping, that whole journey, right? Maybe a Barilla understand how that pasta is being made, right? Whereas previously, before, you probably have to pay somebody from Gartner or agency to be able to follow 100 families around, sit behind documenting how are they actually cooking with your
Yeah.
product,
Yeah.
right? That was the traditional way, but you can do this more automatic, right? As it becomes more
Mm-hmm.
seamless.
Did we? I want to talk a little bit about the social media at the inspirational level and how that all works. But I want to step back a little bit. A lot of talk in the 2015 to 2020 timeframe was this idea of guided cooking, and the idea was, hey, we can maybe use step by step recipes to help someone walk through the cook, and it can maybe be synced up with your appliances. But did we get something wrong, the industry, assuming that people would continuously use these step by step recipes? Because it seems like the consumer oftentimes has their 5 to 10 favorite recipes. Sure, they may like want some guidance early on, or maybe whether it's a digital format or Betty Crocker cookbook, but over time they just remember this, or maybe they're just like using a few simple ingredients from like almost prepared stuff from Costco, and there's just not a lot of people using the guided cooking stuff because they just aren't that complicated, and they just go to the same 5 to 10 things over and over. You see what I'm saying? Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, I think that's definitely true. I mean, I think as technologists, and working with a lot of the kitchen industry, we're excited about the new stuff. We're excited about the new invention, the new devices, and I think that is a demographic, right? I think most people, while they are excited about those new inventions, they are still making a handful of, like you said, 10, 20 dishes, within their family as go-tos. How do we help what people are already doing as a user behavior and enhance that, make that easier, or may allow them to explore from their 10, right, and one circle out, right, 1 degree out. How do we explore one? I always make, tacos. Okay, maybe I can, change it up a bit and do Korean tacos, right, or lasagna, and I can, change it up. Like, what is one step of change, right? How do we, start inspiring people in different ways? So I think, yeah, all of those are, ways to look at it a little bit different.
It gets us back to social, right? So one way in which I think I'm getting a lot of inflow and ideas is my wife consistently, I would say 3 to 4 times a week, sends me a recipe off of Instagram or TikTok, and it's often around healthy eating. Maybe it's around like a kind of a blue zone diet, or maybe it's something like a paleo diet. But that is a continuous flow. And if you like her and like I do follow certain accounts, you're continuously getting, hey, here's a new trick I tried, and you want to try that. So I would imagine social is impacting purchase behavior around different type of recipes more than anything right now.
Yeah, it's very clear now that social is the largest platform for recipe inspiration or cook, like starting to cook inspiration. I think you'll start seeing even just traditional search engines start to change how they're presenting information. I think people are adapting. People are used to having these short form videos that are very poppy. That and allowing creators to constantly be testing on a daily basis, what people are liking. I think this is a good thing, and understanding, what connects with human beings, right? Or what connects with people, especially also different regions, right? Localization has been a really big thing for us over the past years too, because it isn't just US centric of these experiences. The whole world is going through these transformations of, again, quick online grocery delivery, eating healthier, having a larger, call it taste of different types of genres of food. Yeah.
So how do you guys plug into the social part? I think, have you done, I thought you've done integrations with some of the social platforms. Is that correct?
Exactly. Yeah, so we actually have created a thing we call shoppable links that is able to
Okay.
place into any social media site. So it allows us to automatically convert a recipe into a social media shoppable link that people can add, and then they can actually make affiliate revenue off of that. So, for instance, we have several pins on Pinterest with Walmart where we've made all of their recipes. So we work with them not only on their smart recipe hub on Walmart, so you can actually buy recipes and have all the ingredients for them and change the serving size. A lot of that SideChef capability. But then we also have this on, yeah, it could be placed onto a Pinterest, page, which we have. It could be onto TikTok, anywhere where you can have a link and then connect out and adds all those ingredients to cart. So the idea really, our first half of our company's history was allowing anybody to be able to cook. Our second half is allowing any recipe to be shoppable and then funnel into that cooking, process that we've created.
We've talked a little bit about AI, and certainly in a lot of my conversations with app builders and people building content around food, a lot of them are looking at and already using generative AI in some interesting and different way. What way are you guys using generative AI today? And then where do you see this going over the next couple of years?
For us, it's very exciting because we will actually be demoing at Smart Kitchen Summit some of what I'm talking about here, which is we have built out, some image recognition powered by AI capabilities that not only works in ovens and smart kitchen devices, but of course you can actually just take this with your phone, take a picture of anything, and then automatically create a recipe from that and
Mm.
ingredient list, as well as the full step by step, as well as all the step by step photos, as well as being able to shop it instantly, as well as being able to send those instructions to an oven all at once from a single photo. So you can go into any restaurant and be like, hey, I want to make that Cobb salad or whatever it might be, or French onion soup, and then boom, take a picture. It will
Hmm.
generate a full new recipe on the spot. And this is like 95% accurate in terms of what that recipe is. Of course, there are like tweaks. Say it's a specialized this chef and they have special techniques. It might not catch all of that right now, right? But it is actually, and this is the part where most people are probably wondering, well, again, how accurate is that? It can't be that accurate, right? Like, yeah, we had our product manager go home and cook like three different types of fried rice. Fried rice is like, it's like every ingredient is like chopped up minced to like like
Yeah, yeah,
that.
yeah, yeah.
And he did one with chicken and pork and steak, and it was able to recognize all three, right? Depending on the different types of meat, and they're like finely chopped through in all of the smaller ingredients. So that has been really exciting, and we'll be demoing a bit of that at Smart Kitchen Summit. And you can imagine now technology like that. How does that connect in with the rest of the ecosystem? What does that mean, right? This is the same thing. Hey, we have the invention of being able to turn the oven on and off, but how does that actually change people's lives? I think that's where it gets very exciting. Actually, along that note, we actually just got a patent awarded out to us as well too. Is how do we take this image recognition of food and apply it even within a gamified gaming experience too?
Hmm.
And that is another. You just start to think the initial inventions, like the light bulb. How do you go ahead and use that and create, I don't know, Broadway or Vegas, or you can create
Yeah.
something completely different. We have a new building block, right? That's the real question. In the beginning, we're just like, hey, let's just plug in a light bulb and the lights up, and everybody's like, wow, right? But what does it actually mean later on? What are the completely new
Hmm.
experiences? So we're excited about not just, hey, the plug in the light bulb, which is like what AI can do, like initially the prompting, the out of the box Gen AI, whether for photo and videos, those are all the things that will happen. But then what else, right? What is the paradigm shift
Hmm.
that people will experience on a day to day? So not only do we think it's going to be more seamless, we do think it will create completely new experiences.
That gaming background coming back into play once again. You can't quite let it go, which is good.
Just
I
trying to
know that
find a reason to get it back in.
exactly, and it was kind of goes back, brings a full circle for you. Um, you know, are you also looking at wellness and health? I know that one of the interesting companies I've followed for the past year, I've mentioned before, is January AI, and they're using food recognition to do predictive impact and analysis on what your blood sugar would be. They're very much focused on type 2 diabetes, but a lot of the same technology powering this image recognition and kind of knowing the building blocks around what's in it, etc., could also power type of wellness type of applications for you. Is that a direction you guys can see yourself going?
Yeah, so while nutrition is a part of our first roadmap of again being able to recognize and being able to do nutrition kind of out of the box, I do think I think they're on it. I think being able to do it in a predictive way is what is exciting, for users. How do I be the person I want to be? How do I unlock my full potential? And I do think, all of this direction, like for SideChef, we are focusing on the cooking journey aspect first. And how does that support all of these adjacent businesses and ecosystems? Um, like it isn't, our core focus. I think it is a part of it. And I think, I'm hoping that we continuously help build new building blocks that can then allow said company being able to take them also one step farther along that product innovation, or even the monetization side, which I think is really important as well. I think a lot of times as product people, we're like, hey, here's a new innovation, but it's how do we also work with the industry to convert, right? How does like Tesla, as a EV company, get the rest of the market to also follow that leadership and to move right in that direction. This is where I don't think it's just the disruption and just the user, change side. How do we allow, all of that ecosystem to also evolve? I think is a very important question.
It's great as always to talk to you. I'm looking forward to seeing you in Seattle, and going back 10 years now. Great to see how your company has evolved. So thanks for spending some time with me.
Yeah, always great to catch up, Mike.